Welcome back to the Animal Truth Lab. I'm Dr. Gray Parrot. Today, I'm going to clear the name of someone who has been wrongly accused for almost 100 years. The defendant is the largest lizard alive on Earth today, the Komodo dragon. It lives on a handful of sun-baked little islands in Indonesia, just Komodo, Rinca, and Flores, a few specks of land. The people there have known it for a very long time. They call it Ora, and also Buaya Darat, which means the crocodile of the land. And when Westerners first laid eyes on it, they were so shaken that they gave it a name of their own. They called it a dragon. And don't go thinking dragon was just some throwaway nickname. In 1926, an American expedition sailed all the way out to Komodo Island and hauled this dragon, specimens and living animals alike, back to the United States. That whole journey, this idea of bringing an ancient monster home to the civilized world, later became one of the inspirations for the 1933 classic King Kong. People back then genuinely treated this thing as a living, breathing monster. And this dragon has been carrying a whole rap sheet of charges. The most famous one reads like this: "It's a dirty-mouthed killer. Its mouth is so filthy that when it bites you, the mouthful of rotting bacteria slowly poisons you to death." You've probably heard that one too, haven't you? It's frightening, and it's easy to remember. There's just one problem. It's wrong. So today, I'm not standing on the side of the accusers. I'm standing with the defendant. We're going to go through this one charge at a time, and one by one, we are going to clear this dragon's name. All right, let's bring the defendant up and get to know exactly who we're dealing with. A large Komodo dragon, from the tip of its snout to the tip of its tail, can stretch to nearly 3 meters. The biggest one ever measured, recorded, and confirmed came in at 3.13 meters, about the length of a small car. Picture that, a lizard as long as a car ambling toward you across the grass. And here's something you might not know. The monitor lizard family it belongs to has around 80 species worldwide, spread all the way from Africa and Asia down to Australia. And the Komodo is the biggest of all 80. Its tail is almost as long as its whole body and as thick as a grown man's thigh, and that tail is a genuine multi-tool. It's flattened along the sides, so in the water it works as a paddle, carrying the dragon across the sea from one island to the next. On land, it's a balancing pole and a fleshy whip for sweeping an opponent off its feet in a fight. And the base of the tail is a pantry where the dragon stockpiles its fat. But before we go any further, I have to dismiss the first charge, a charge of exaggeration. A lot of people say the Komodo dragon weighs 166 kilograms, a 160-kilo monster. 166 kilos is about 2.5 grown adults stacked one on top of another. Sounds absolutely enormous, doesn't it? But there's a trap in that number. A Komodo dragon's stomach can stretch to an incredible size. In a single meal, it can swallow nearly 80% of its own body weight in meat. So that 166-kilo animal was actually one that had just eaten, with its whole belly crammed full of meat. A normal, empty-stomached wild Komodo dragon is only around 70 kilos, about the weight of one adult person. So the 160-kilo monster charge, dismissed. It's big, but not the exaggerated giant of legend. Next comes the most important charge of all, the dirty mouth killer. The story goes like this. A Komodo dragon bites its prey once. The prey tears itself free, runs off, and seems perfectly fine. But a few days later, that same animal slowly grows weak, can't walk, and finally collapses. The old scientific explanation was this: the dragon's mouth harbors dozens of deadly bacteria, and a single bite drives those bacteria into the wound, slowly poisoning the prey's blood. And honestly, even I used to believe this one. It's just so easy to remember. A dragon with a mouth dirty enough to bring down a deer. Who could forget that? But you know the rule here in the Truth Lab. easy to remember does not mean it's true. Hang on, let me go back and check the data on this one and tell you what I find. In 2013, a team of scientists led by someone named Goldstein actually went and sampled the bacteria in Komodo dragons' mouths, one species at a time, and compared them one at a time. And what they found was this: the bacteria in that mouth, compared to any other meat-eating animals, aren't especially toxic at all. There's no specially lethal germ hiding in there. In other words, the dirty mouth killer charge from beginning to end was one big misunderstanding. Case dismissed. But that leaves us with a problem. If it isn't the bacteria, then why does the bitten prey slowly go down? The answer is hidden inside the dragon's jaw, and that answer is 100 times scarier than any bacteria. In 2009, a scientist named Fry, together with his team, cracked the mystery. They discovered that inside the Komodo dragon's lower jaw sits a pair of genuine, honest-to-goodness venom glands. You heard me right, venom glands, a lizard, venomous. To this day, a lot of people still think that only snakes carry venom. So the dragon picked up yet another charge. It's just an oversized lizard. Where would it get venom? Wrong. And here's the thing. Making venom was never a snake's private invention. Scientists have found that across the whole great group of animals that snakes and lizards both belong to, the machinery for making venom evolved earlier and far more widely than we ever assumed. And the Komodo dragon is living proof. Its lower jaw holds a matched pair of venom glands, divided inside into several little chambers, and the venom ducts open up right between its teeth. The moment it bites down, the venom runs along the gaps between the teeth and straight into the prey's wound. So what makes this venom so dangerous? It isn't the kind that drops prey stone dead on the spot. It takes a slower road, slower but so much harder to stop. And it strikes with two moves at once. Move 1, it stops the blood from clotting. A normal wound scabs over and stops bleeding, right? This venom switches that whole stop the bleeding function off. The wound just keeps bleeding and won't stop. Move 2, it drops the blood pressure. Components in the venom send the prey's blood pressure sliding down and down. And once the blood pressure crashes, the animal goes wobbly, dizzy, drained of every last bit of strength. Bleeding that won't stop on the one side, blood pressure caving in on the other, this is what scientists call hemorrhagic shock. And they've done the math. A prey animal of around 40 kilos needs only about 4 milligrams of this venom to be brought down. 4 milligrams? About as much as a couple of drops of water. And how can we be sure it's the venom and not just luck? Because even the dragon's own genes confessed. Scientists decoded its entire genome and found a set of instructions built specifically to keep blood from clotting. A set that evolution had singled out and sharpened on purpose. It's as if, from the very deepest level of its DNA, the venom had been stamped and approved in advance. This animal was born to be a hunter that makes its prey bleed and bleed. So the Komodo dragon has no venom charge, dismissed. Not only is it venomous, its venom is brilliantly designed, written right into its genes. But venom alone isn't enough. For the venom to do its work, the prey first has to be wounded, has to bleed. And here's the problem. The Komodo dragon bites incredibly weakly. Wait, isn't it an apex predator? How can it barely bite? This is the next place it's been wronged, except this time it's been overrated. A lot of the old sources say the Komodo dragon bites as hard as a lion or a tiger. That is exactly backwards. Scientists actually took 10 Komodo dragons, got them to bite 200 times, and the single strongest bite they measured came in at 148.56 newtons, about the force of you lifting a 15-kilo child with both hands. And when they used a computer model to estimate the force of it opening wide and clamping down, the figure came out at around just 39 newtons, a number even smaller than the bite of a house cat. For an animal that size, that bite force is astonishingly feeble, nowhere near the mammal predators of the same body weight. So how does a dragon that can barely bite bring down a 70-kilo deer? The secret isn't in the bite, it's in the pull. Once it's got a grip on its prey, it doesn't try to crush anything with brute force. Instead, it throws its whole body backward, backs away, and puts its neck, its legs, the muscles of its entire back into it, hauling backward for all it's worth. Pair that with a mouthful of serrated teeth, and it becomes a walking can opener, ripping great slabs of meat clean off. Scientists have measured that backward pull at around 336 newtons, more than double its bite force. Think about that. Its real power was never in its jaws at all. A lizard that can barely bite, using one clever trick of pulling, outhunts the brute force heavyweights. So the bites as hard as a lion or a tiger charge, also false, dismissed. But the truth left standing after we dismiss it is more thrilling than the rumor ever was. And since we're on the subject of those serrated teeth, let's get to know them properly, because they're tied to a huge discovery that was only revealed in 2024. A Komodo dragon's mouth holds about 60 teeth. Every one of them curves backward, flattened with saw-like serrations running down both edges. These teeth aren't for chewing, they're for cutting, for slicing, and they're replaced for life. An old one drops out, a new one grows in, on and on, without end. Impressive enough already, right? We're not done. In 2024, scientists ran an ultra-precise analysis on those teeth and found something no one had ever known. Right at the tip of each tooth and along the serrated edges, there's a coating of iron. Yes, iron, the very same element that's in a nail, in a hammer. The scientists described that iron layer as being like frosting on a cake, a thin coat painted exactly onto the cutting edges that most need to stay sharp, keeping the teeth keen. This is the first time scientists have clearly found this kind of iron edge in a reptile. And here's what makes it even better. A great many meat-eating dinosaurs had teeth that look remarkably like these serrated ones. So scientists have started to wonder, did those ancient dinosaurs too once carry iron-forged teeth? A lizard alive today may be carrying, right there in its mouth, a key to the age of the dinosaurs. So, do you still think this is just an ordinary big lizard? Now, this next charge is the one I most want to clear, because it sounds the coolest and it's got completely the wrong animal. A lot of people say the Komodo dragon can sense the body heat of its prey, that in the pitch dark of night it locks on to warm-blooded prey by their heat. Sounds like a pair of night vision goggles, doesn't it? Sadly, this takes a snake's ability and pins it on the dragon. The ones that really do have that infrared heat-sensing organ are the vipers, the rattlesnakes and their kin, along with some pythons and boas, which carry special heat-sensing pits on their faces. Monitor lizards like the Komodo have no such structure on their faces at all. And the Komodo dragon isn't nocturnal. It is, through and through, a creature of the day. It's cold-blooded. It borrows its body heat from the sun. Early in the morning, it sprawls out in the open to warm up. When the noon heat gets too fierce, it slips into the shade, and once night falls and the temperature drops, the whole animal goes cold and slow and dutifully retreats into its burrow. So tell me, how could an animal that goes cold and hides the moment it's dark possibly be a heat-seeking assassin of the night? In daylight, its eyes are razor-sharp. It can tell colors apart and pick out something moving 300 meters away. But the instant it gets dark, its eyesight turns terrible. So the tracks prey by body heat in the dark charge dismissed. Then what is its real superpower? Its nose, or to be precise, its tongue and nose. You've surely noticed how lizards and snakes are forever flicking their tongues. The Komodo dragon's tongue is yellow and it's forked like a two-pronged fork. It flicks that tongue out over and over, catching the scent molecules drifting in the air and carrying them back to a spot in the roof of its mouth called the Jacobson's organ, where they get analyzed. And here's the key. Its tongue is split into two prongs. If the left prong picks up a stronger scent, the dragon knows the food is off to the left. By comparing how strong the smell is on the left against the right, it can work out exactly which direction the scent is drifting in from.
How good is this nose? It can smell a fallen carcass from about 4 kilometers away. 4 kilometers, roughly an hour's brisk walk. And this keen sense of smell is written right into its genes. That same genome decoding also revealed that the family of genes responsible for smell is unusually large and unusually well developed in this animal. A breeze rolls in and the dragon knows. Over that way, there's a meal. Now let's put all of its weapons together. A superb nose, iron-edged serrated teeth, that backward-hauling muscle, and a belly full of venom there's no defending against. This is how a Komodo dragon really hunts. It's not the kind of hunter that runs its prey down across open ground. In fact, it can't run fast at all. At a sprint, it manages about 20 kilometers an hour, and only for a short burst. Push it any farther, and it runs clean out of steam. Anyone who told you it does 30 kilometers an hour, accelerating like a sports car, that's an exaggeration too, and it's dismissed along with the rest. So if it can't run, what does it do? It ambushes. It hides behind tall grass or a bush, dead still, and it can hold that pose for hours on end. And when a deer or a wild boar wanders in close without a care in the world, it explodes. One short, sudden sprint, and it bites down on the prey's leg, its belly, or its throat. And even if that first bite doesn't hold, it doesn't matter, because those serrated teeth have already opened the wound, and the venom is already in. The wounded prey escapes, but its blood won't stop. Its blood pressure keeps falling, and as it runs, it grows weaker and weaker. And the Komodo dragon? It's in no hurry. It flicks out that forked tongue, follows the scent of blood, and trails along slowly behind. It knows that if it just waits a little while longer, that meal is going to fall down all on its own. Do you see it? Not one of its weapons, taken on its own, is the best of its kind. It can't outbite anyone, and it can't outrun anyone. But it bolts the nose, the teeth, the pull, and the venom together into one nearly flawless way of killing. And that is the truly frightening part.
By now, you may already have changed your mind about this Defendant, but its single most incredible trick? I haven't told you that one yet. And before I do, I want to introduce you to how these dragons usually go about starting a family, because family life alone hides 2 more surprising truths. Every dry season is the Komodo dragon's breeding season. This is when the males fight over the chance to mate, and they fight in a very particular way. 2 dragons prop themselves up on their hind legs and their tails, rise up until their whole upper body is standing, and, like a pair of wrestlers, shove and grapple and twist, each one straining to throw the other to the ground. Which raises a question. Their teeth and their claws are so sharp, grappling and biting like that, how do they not tear each other to ribbons? The answer, once again, is hidden inside the body. In 2019, scientists used an ultra-high-resolution scanner to image a Komodo dragon from the inside out and got a shock. Beneath its skin, from head to tail, lies a dense layer of chainmail built from countless tiny plates of bone, so dense that there is no second lizard like it anywhere. Its whole head is almost completely encased, with just a few openings left around the eyes, the nostrils, and the mouth. And here's the strangest part. A freshly hatched baby dragon has none of this armor. It has to grow it in, plate by plate, as it gets older. So who is all this armor defending against? An adult Komodo has no natural predators on its island at all.
which means this armor isn't there to guard against outsiders, it's there to guard against its own kind. When two of them fight, that layer of chainmail beneath the skin is the best protection it's got. And the male that wins, once he's mated, now it's the female's turn to build the nest. And she has a real knack for it. She'll often borrow a big earth mound built by a bird called the orange-footed scrubfowl, the kind of mound the bird piles up to incubate its own eggs, and use it as a ready-made nursery. And smarter still, she deliberately digs several extra empty decoy nests nearby, specifically to send egg thieves digging in the wrong spots, wearing themselves out for nothing. A female lays around 20 leathery eggs in a clutch and stands guard over the nest for months. After roughly 7 or 8 months, the baby dragons finally break out of their shells, though the moment they hatch, the parents turn and walk away and never look back. All right, with all of that laid out, I'll tell you the most incredible trick of all. Listen closely, because this really happened. At a zoo in England, there was a female Komodo dragon who had never once been kept together with any male. And one day, she laid a whole clutch of eggs, and those eggs actually hatched into baby dragons. No father, and offspring all the same. In biology, this is called Parthenogenesis. A female Komodo dragon, when there's no male anywhere to be found, can produce viable, hatchable eggs entirely on her own. And here's where it gets even better. Every baby born this way comes out a son, not one single daughter among them. What does that mean? Picture this. A single female Komodo dragon uses that tail paddle we talked about to swim and drift her way to a lonely island that has never had a dragon on it. No mate, no one at all. By all rights, the story should end right there, shouldn't it? But it doesn't. In theory, she can produce a clutch of sons all by herself, and when those sons grow up, she can mate with her own sons and produce the next generation. And just like that, from a single stranded female, a whole island's worth of dragons can slowly grow. One is enough to start over. So the "it's just an ordinary big lizard" charge, I don't think there's a soul left who'd agree with that now. Dismissed. There's one more charge, and this one is about where it came from. Everyone assumes the Komodo dragon grew this big because it got stranded on a small island. No large rivals on the island, unusual resources, so generation after generation it grew bigger and bigger. This phenomenon even has a name, insular gigantism. Sounds perfectly reasonable, doesn't it? But the fossils tell a different story. Fossils that scientists have dug up on the Australian mainland prove that the Komodo dragon had already grown to this enormous size as far back as 3.8 million years ago. It was only later that it made its way westward and settled onto these Indonesian islands. In other words, it didn't get big after it reached the islands. It was already big, and then it moved over. And back in that ancient age, Australia was home to an even more gigantic relative of the dragon called Megalania that could reach 5 meters long. It was a whole dynasty of giant lizards. Later, those larger relatives died out one after another, and the Komodo dragon alive today is in fact the very last survivor of that entire dynasty of giants. So the island-made freak charge dismissed. It's no freak, it's an aristocrat, the last living bloodline of an ancient family that once ruled. Clearing the name of an apex predator, it all sounds rather glorious. But its life also has a side that is deeply cruel and deeply clever. I want you to meet it as a youngster. An adult Komodo dragon has almost no enemies on its island. It fears nothing and no one. But a baby dragon, freshly out of the egg, is one of the most endangered creatures on that whole island, because the ones that want to eat it are, very often, its own grown-up kind. That's right, the big dragons eat the little ones. So how does a baby dragon survive?
it's worked out an entire survival kit. First, the instant they hatch, they scramble straight up into the trees. A newborn dragon is a beautiful green, marked with yellow and black, and it tucks in among the leaves just perfectly, while the huge adults, far too big to climb out onto the thin branches, simply can't reach them.
The second trick is even cleverer and even more unexpected. The baby dragon rolls around in the guts of prey and even in the droppings of the big dragons, smearing that stink all over itself. Why? Because the big dragons find their food by smell. So if a baby makes itself not smell like food, it can fool even those keen, powerful noses. Think about that. Same animal, the Komodo dragon, the big ones rule the whole island and fear nothing. The little ones have to climb and hide and cover themselves in filth just to hold on to their lives. One species, two completely different fates. And that gap is precisely how nature keeps their numbers in check. All right, everyone. We've gone through every charge against the Komodo dragon, and one by one, we've dismissed them all. It isn't some filthy thing poisoning prey with a dirty mouthful of bacteria. It has real venom glands. It isn't a big lizard that just clamps down with brute force. It works with a mouthful of iron-forged serrated teeth and one ingenious backward pull. It isn't a heat-seeking hunter of the dark. It's a superbly scented assassin of the daylight. And it isn't some freak that only grew big because it was trapped on an island. It's the last survivor of a dynasty of giant lizards, one that doesn't even need a mate to carry its bloodline on. So, having dismissed all of these charges, here's what I'd say. We dismiss them not because this animal is harmless, quite the opposite. The truth is far more awe-inspiring than the rumor. This is a cold-blooded, chemically armed, self-perpetuating, iron-toothed apex predator, and this whole arsenal was forged 3.8 million years ago, far, far older than the entire history of our own species. Have you noticed something? So many of the great hunters we've met along the way rule by strength, by speed, by the sheer size of their bodies. But the Komodo dragon shows us there's another way to stand at the very top of the food chain, through patience, through chemistry, through one flawless piece of design.
And there's one more thing I find especially moving. That venom of its, the one that keeps blood flowing and drives blood pressure down, is right now being studied by scientists who want to know whether it could be made into medicine for human beings to prevent blood clots, to lower blood pressure. Think about that. The very same chemical weapon that brings down a deer out on the island might, one day, in a laboratory, become the cure that saves a person's life. The truth so often turns out to be exactly that surprising. But this ancient survivor is, right now, up against real trouble. Today, in the entire world, there are only around 3,458 Komodo dragons left, and of those, only about 1,383 are breeding adults, scattered thinly across those few Indonesian islands. In 2021, it was officially listed as endangered. The sea is rising, and bit by bit, it's swallowing the low-lying land they call home. And this is an animal whose numbers come back especially slowly. A Komodo dragon doesn't reproduce until it's 8 or 9 years old, and it lives around 30 years in the wild. Slow to mature, long between generations. So once the numbers fall, it takes a very, very long time to rebuild them. The good news is that people are working to help. As far back as 1980, Indonesia established Komodo National Park, dedicated to guarding this last home of theirs. A dragon that has come through more than 3 million years, that can carry on without even needing a mate. Now, what it needs is us. And that is the truth of the Komodo dragon. I'm Dr. Gray Parrot. I'll see you next time.
Next time, the lab is taking on a very strange case. The accused? A soft, squishy little animal with no shell and no bones at all. It's one of the greatest color-matching masters in the whole ocean, but guess what?
it can't see a single color itself. How can someone who can't see color be the champion of color? Want to find out? Hit like and subscribe and share it with your best friend so you won't miss it. I'm Dr. Gray Parrot. Thanks for coming to the Animal Truth Lab. See you next time. Bye-bye.